Chapter 32. Lending a Paw. Quasi leaned against the wall, with legs and arms crossed, eyeing Peso. The medic was swabbing the deck, or, in normal terms, mopping the launch bay's floor. The Octonauts took turns cleaning and doing chores, the cat shuddered at the word, in the octopod. If it weren't for those chores, Peso wouldn't even be down here. Quasi didn't understand it, but although everyone, including the penguin, had been trained to drive the gups, Peso was still scared of them. He always had someone else drive, never himself. But then again, it seemed like he was scared of everything. He was very jittery when he talked to everyone. Though, after they talked last week, Peso got less nervous around him. Actually, it felt like they had an understanding now, a connection that he didn't have with anyone else on the crew. Quasi had been burned before, but could this be different? Would someone finally understand him, after the only one who had before was his granddad? Peso looked at the gups parked in the water, shifted uncomfortably, then quickly looked away. Before now, Quasi would usually ignore a nervous creature whenever he could. They were just too different from the adventure-loving pirate. But Quasi was concerned this time. He wasn't sure how the penguin would handle a dangerous situation, and one was bound to happen eventually. And if Peso was supposed to drive, then it would be disastrous if he choked because of his fear of the gups and crashed. That just wouldn't do. But what if? Quasi focused on him again. Peso was putting the mop and pail away. He had finished his chore. Perfect. Hey, Peso, Quasi said, pushing off from the wall. Peso turned towards him. Yes, Quasi? He asked. The cat ignored the stuttering and started to stretch. Me sea legs are getting pretty tired from being cooped up in here all day. How about we both take the gup bee out for a spin? We? Yeah, are you deaf? He chuckled. He continued to stretch, ignoring Peso's face as it became tight with worry. I'm fine, Quasi, but you have fun. Nope, Quasi said, straightening up. Before Peso knew what was happening, Quasi started to gently push him towards the gup. Peso went stiff as a board, his webbed feet sliding pretty easily across the metal floor. I'm not taking no for an answer. But the captain might need us. We have the octo alert. Tweak might need to check up on the gup. She won't today. I checked. They were close to the edge of the metal landing, right in front of the gup bee. And besides, Peso added, his voice becoming a bit more confident, the gup bee can only hold one octonaut, so we can't both go. Quasi finally stopped. Oh, he had forgotten about that. If he hadn't known any better, he could see traces of a smirk on Peso's face. "'Tis true, me hearty," he said, considering. He had to take the gup bee, though, because there was an actual seat. With the other ones, like the gup A, they would have to stand to drive, and that wouldn't work with what he had in mind. But then a smug smile came on Quasi as well. We'll just take the gup C. What? Peso said. But that only has one seat, too. Tweak didn't tell you? Quasi said, starting to push Peso forward again. There's a fold-up seat in it. If you slide the first seat to the side, you can open the second one up. Peso didn't even respond, just dazedly went into the gup C when Quasi pushed him in. Quasi mischievously chuckled internally. All right, let's wake her up. He pressed the ignition button, and the gup whirred to life, shaking slightly under the purrs of the engine. That broke Peso's daze, and he glanced frantically about. Quasi smirked, enjoying his reaction a bit too much. Riling him up was fun. The gup headed towards the exit. Here we go! Quasi yelled. He reached for the speed lever. Peso held on to the nearest piece of metal. Wait! Stop! They flew out of the octopod. Line break. Yow! Ah! It felt like lightning. Peso looked at the speedometer and could see the arrow reach the red part of it. He was pushed back against the chair. His stomach was in knots. He couldn't move. He just screamed. He could feel the gup move up, and the next thing he knew, they were upside down. I'm gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, I'm gonna die. They got out of the loop, but before he could take a breath, they flipped over again. Why would Quasi do this to me? He's gonna kill us both. Quasi was hollering and cheering. The turns didn't stop. He's crazy, we're gonna die. Peso saw a blinding light and realized it was the sun. We're jumping out of the ocean. But then his mind paused. He saw the expanse of blue below him, as far as his eyes could see. The clouds were glorious, curved shapes of wonder. He felt himself float a bit off the chair, the seatbelt keeping him from flying too far. And in that moment, between the sky and sea, he could say that it was beautiful. But then they plummeted back into the water, and another scream tore from him. But now, his thoughts of death were quieter. Still there, but quieter. That vision of peace from the beauty had strangely not left him. The turns and flips kept going, but eventually the knots in his stomach loosened a little. A numbness went over him. His screams disappeared. He just stared ahead of himself dumbly. They hadn't crashed. Far from it. They didn't even get close to any fish or coral beds. They were surviving. He was surviving. He did not know how long it was after that, but a small bump roused him. They landed safely on the seafloor, finally at the end of this crazy stunt. There was no more movement. Fish swam lazily outside. It was peaceful. There now, Quasi said, setting the controls to park with gusto. If you could live through that, then you can handle driving them normally every day. Peso looked up at Quasi, who leaned against the dashboard with his elbow. Quasi had a knowing smirk. Peso must not have answered quickly enough, though, because it quickly turned into a worried expression. Peso finally understood what he was up to. And, surprisingly, it worked. He felt that normal driving was much less intimidating than before. A small smile formed on his beak. "Thank you," Peso said. The pirate's shoulders slacked, relieved. "Don't mention it," Quasi replied. "Just lending a paw."